Thank you for joining a Family Leadership Design Collaborative video. Today I'm honored to present Ann Henderson. Ann is the Senior Research Consultant for Annenberg Institute for School Reform. Thank you so much for joining us, Ann. I'm hoping you can talk a little bit about what community wellness and educational justice means in your context.
National, because I work nationally all over the country promoting my main focus, which is the relationship between families and schools, which is often fraught and difficult and hard for both parents and school staff to navigate. And that's been really the focus of my work for the last 30 years. And so I go all over the country talking to people, and it might be school districts or foundations or state education agencies or community organizations that want to promote better connections between families and schools, all with the purpose of improving student achievement. So what does community wellness and educational justice have to do with my work? And the short answer is everything. Because if we look at what makes a healthy community, what makes a community a great place to live and raise children and have a family and have a life and a career, it's a lot of different things that all have to do with our human relationships. We need to be able to trust our neighbors. We need to be able to be confident that when our children are at school or in community settings that they're being treated kindly and well and in a way that helps them thrive. We need to feel that no matter what our background is, that we're part of the community, that we're included, that we have a voice, and to feel that everyone in the community is focused on the children and making sure that they get all the opportunities they need to do well in life. And to do this, we need to take time to discuss and affirm our values and to make sure that nobody's relegated to the margins. I suppose what I've just described sounds kind of utopian, but it can and does happen. And when you have healthy communities that function in that way, that where people really embrace one another and care about each other and work toward a common good, educational justice flows from that. When you find schools where the relationship is toxic, children are failing, and really it's not the children who are failing, it's the schools that are failing the children. Just want to make that clear. These schools are the product of an unhealthy community. I'm not that anything in human life is automatic, certainly not. I was just listening to Michelle Renee's wonderful talk on another video that you've done, and she gave a beautiful definition of educational justice, which I won't repeat here, except to say a few things, which is the definition of justice that goes all the way back to Plato in the Republic is each receiving his or her due, what they deserve. And our children deserve the best. Our children deserve and should have a birthright where they expect a rich, high-quality education that offers them lots of options and opportunities to develop their gifts. And all children have gifts, despite the existence of gifted and talented programs which exclude many children who do have gifts, but I won't go down that rabbit hole. So each child should basically be able to expect that they will get everything they need to learn and thrive, and that the people who work in the schools and who tend our communities and keep the home fires burning will be collaborating with one another to make sure that everybody's doing whatever it takes to make sure that each child thrives, does well, is happy, and in their educational and community settings. And we can't have this, as I was saying earlier, none of this is automatic, without really strong parent and community leadership. So that's been part of my focus, is helping people understand that all parents have the potential for leadership. It's not a singular talent that only a few people have. Everybody can lead, but in their own way. And when we create opportunities to develop parents' leadership capacity, lots of great things happen in a community. They build social capital, there's more civic activity, there's more of a sense of what's important for community wellness and justice, because the parents' voices are there saying, but wait a minute, what about my child? Why can't my child be in a higher level program? Why is my child stuck in a remedial reading group for 3 years in a row? Or why doesn't my neighborhood have parks and recreational opportunities the way the neighborhoods across the river do? And that those voices are authentic expressions of community experience that our policymakers have to heed. So that, I suppose, is in the short form of what I think how my work relates to community wellness and educational justice. I mean, a leader is someone who shows another person the way to go, the way to the best opportunity for this, the way to get to the church or the neighborhood center or the meeting that they want to go to. And everybody from the humblest immigrant family who's just arrived in the US to billionaires are leaders in their own way. And we have to recognize that and cultivate that.
Much for sharing. And could you share a little bit about a next practice that you see in your work for developing parent capacity for leadership?
I've had the great good fortune to be working with the United Parent Leadership Action Network, which is forming, to develop a theory of change for parent leadership so that we can understand what happens when we introduce an initiative to build families' capacity for leadership on behalf of their children. And so I've been around the country talking to parent leaders on the East Coast, the West Coast, everywhere in between, and finding out from them what their experience is with these programs and the different pathways they've taken to making change in their community for children. It's been a fascinating journey, and I wanted very much for our work to be co-created with parents in the field. So we have now a theory of change. We call it capturing the ripple effect, and looking at what happens when parents, as in their own words, they say, I was just a mom, or I was just a veteran with PTSD and a couple of kids. And now I'm a leader, and I know how to go out in my community and make things better for kids. So it's a deep personal transformation that happens, and the effects are enormous on their own family, on their friends and neighbors, and on the community as they go out and start interacting. It really changes the way people look at parents to introduce parent leadership development programs. They're not new, but I think it's a next practice in the sense that most of our communities don't have something like that. And if we want our democracy to be healthy, and that makes our communities healthy, a healthy community is a democratic community, we have to make these investments. And we have to understand how they work. And parents, there's no better person to tell you how they work and the impact they have than parents who've been through them, and then community leaders and policymakers and public officials who've interacted with parents. I think the most interesting thing I heard from the community leaders about the value of parent leaders as they see it for the policymaking process is that they never really had the opportunity before there were trained, prepared, experienced parent leaders to come and share with them their experience of, say, trying to navigate the early childhood system with all its different deadlines and application hurdles that they have to go through, as an example, that parents aren't just people who whine and complain and want to take things. Parents are actual members of the community who contribute, who care about their children, and want public services to be responsive and effective. And the policymakers realize if we want to learn about this, we have to talk to parents. It's not enough to have a hearing and bring in the program administrators and get their take on things, or bring in the housing officials or the early childhood officials or the health officials. We need to be talking about parents from their experience on the receiving end. And when we do, we can make much better public policy, and we can expand our concept of ourselves as policymakers, as people who are responsive to an entire constituency, not just the base who put us in office.
Thank you for sharing your insights and your wonderful work with us, Anne. Is there anything that you'd like to leave us with today?
That is the creation of, in addition to UPlan, the United Parent Leaders Action Network, we have a new national association called NAFSCE, the National Association for Family, School, and Community Engagement. So for the first time, we have a national advocacy organization that's dedicated to building the capacity of the people who do the work of engaging families, networking them with each other, helping them understand what is high impact practice. I would say next practice is high impact practice. And NAFSCE's mission is to advance both high impact policy and practice in family, school, and community engagement, to advance children's academic development and also promote young children's development. So this is what we need to do as a country, is to understand that engaging families is a core strategy for improving our schools and communities, and that without them, we can't do it.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today, Anne. We really appreciate your sharing your insights and your wonderful work, and we look forward to seeing more work continued with NAFSCE. Thank you so much.